right? So today we are talking about why unity. Why? Why unity? What brings us to unity? What is in unity? What does unity provide us that's different? And what does unity do for the spiritual seeker and the truth finder, right? And as we so eloquently say at the beginning, what unity is: practical, positive, progressive approach to Christianity. We're focusing on the principles that Jesus was teaching. We're not focused as much on the Old Testament. We can get some really good stories out of that. And remember that the Old Testament was talking about how to live believing in an outside world. Unity, Jesus' teachings, was talking about where the kingdom is, where the inner world is. And what I love about unity is that it is progressive. It keeps up with the time. We don't judge. We don't come in here and say, well, if you're Catholic, you can't come except one Sunday a month. If you're Baptist, you don't belong here. But what does unity do often is for somebody that may have been injured in their upbringing, where they're looking for a spiritual food, where they're looking for a spiritual home, but they cannot believe in a God who wakes up on a Monday morning and says, I think I'm going to make you suffer, right? It's a hard thing to believe in, right? When I was a little girl, and I don't know, maybe I was 10, I don't know, but I told my mom I had something to tell her, and I thought it was a secret. And she says, what is it? And I says, we're all God. And she said, keep it a secret. Keep it a secret, because people can't hear that. They're not ready to hear that, right? And the reason that that happens is because we've had a tendency to what I call humanize God. And God is so not that, right? And I'm glad, because, I mean, it's like, it would just be another version of me, maybe a little bit smarter. I don't know. But it's like, and we carry that wonderful energy. But unity was founded on that wonderful affirmation, where Myrtle and Charles were at a talk, and Myrtle had dealt with all kind of health issues for years and years and years, and she was trying to find her way. And so it was by, I think it's DB Weeks, EB. I always want to change his initials. And what she took from that, and who was a student of Emma Curtis Hopkins, she took from that, and she's talking to him all the way home. And, you know, you're trying to think, now, when was that? Was that before cars? Did they have horse and buggy? How were they walking home? What was that journey like all the way home? But all the way home, she's like, can you believe it, Charles? I am the child of God. Therefore, I do not inherit illness. This is what started it, right? This is what started unity. This is what started the prayer, right? And so they weren't interested in a church because they felt like affirmative prayer could be used in any belief system. And they would meet on Sundays after churches, after people went to their church, wherever they went, and they'd come in and they'd start to practice this affirmative prayer. And Myrtle was just all over it. And she would talk to her body and thank it and ask it to forgive her for the things that she thought or that she did. And she was seeing a miraculous healing. She was seeing changes happen. Now, Charles was more scientific minded, and I have to see it to believe it kind of a person. But he started seeing the changes in her, you know. And two, it's like, if your partner starts to improve and they're happier, well, that's a big deal. Like, okay, you know, what's going on here? There's glowing going around. There's happiness. And so he thought, well, there might be something behind this. So he started to kind of get into the practice. Now, when he was young, he had an ice skating accident and broke his leg. And the leg never healed correctly. And so he had a significant limp. So he started working with that, and his legs started to straighten out, to grow some. Now, he did always have a limp, but it was not ever as prominent as it was. But he got into this mind thing, that whole science of it. If I believe this, and if I can see it, and I can have it happen, this is wonderful. And it's in that place of affirming and in that place of seeing. So together, they grew this wonderful place that we call unity today. Now, it was really kind of funny because Charles, well, he was a shoe salesman at one point. He was a salesman. And I think it was shoes. But he had a way with people. Myrtle, stories go, Myrtle was a little bit more dry. So she did really good in letter writing and that kind of stuff. But when people come to listen to her, any of the husbands that brought their wives, the husbands would be fighting not to snore during the thing because they thought she was real dry. But Charles had a way about him. So he started doing a lot of the talking because it held people's interest in a different way. And Charles have you ever read the one book, Atom Smashing Power? Okay. So that was one of Charles's books. But he loved the idea of atomic energy, of the nuclear weapon. Not because of the destruction that it caused, because if it could do that, think of all the good. When you take all of those atoms, all of those pieces of you, and you break them down and you start to put the fuel into that. So to him, anything could be exciting because all the good that can come of that. But he was excited about it, not in a place of destruction, but in that place of what we can create within ourselves, of moving that energy forward. But they started this wonderful legacy that we have today. Now, while they were alive, they didn't want it to be church. They just, again, wanted it to be a prayer, silent unity, a place of prayer people could go to. And, they still get thousands of letters and they pray over them every morning. And, you can call silent unity and get that prayer. But it started with this affirmative prayer, and then it started to move on. What were these teachings? What was Jesus teaching us? Why are these affirmations important? And if you ever pay attention, and if you're ever reading, like everybody wants to say, I'm going to read the New Testament today. I'm going to read everything that Jesus had to say, right? If you ever read where Jesus is praying, he's never saying, do you mind, God? Or God, would you please? He's stating things. He's stating, blessed are, right? He's stating it in an affirmative way. He's not asking if it could happen. He's believing. He's taking that energy and he's believing it. And where Jesus said, in my Father's home are many mansions, right? Now, from a literal standpoint, we think everybody has their own little house in heaven, right? Yeah. But what it means from a metaphysical perspective is dimensions or layers, right? Think of it as, when I call about dimensions, it's like we know that we're not on the same level of belief or the same level of energy, right? So if people are holding a lower energy, there's a place for them. People are holding a higher energy. I mean, no matter where you go, there is a place. But so we use the term, it might be dimensions, but don't get so caught up in that. I'm trying to make sure I'm in the fourth dimension or the fifth dimension or whatever. You're not competing with anybody but yourself. So let that go. But unity, so my mother took me to unity because she was looking for something. So she was raised Catholic. When she married my dad, she married into a Southern Baptist family. And she converted to that pretty easily. But then as she started to get older, she couldn't understand why God would let certain things happen, because through her whole life in whatever religion, God chose these things to happen to people. And there was an incident, and I can still remember, and it was about these Girl Scouts out camping. And that during that, and they were sleeping in their sleeping bags around a campfire, but during that time, a man came and took several of them and hurt them and killed them. It broke my mother because she could not see where God was in that picture. It just really crumbled her, and she started to look for something. She found unity. She liked it. Now, as my mother got older, she went back to being Baptist, okay? But that's her journey. But I believe that she found unity for me because I was a child that was different. I was a child that saw somebody walk through the wall and nobody else could see it. I mean, I was the child that needed somebody to understand me or to get it. So she went to Unity a couple of times, and then she asked if I wanted to go with her. It was the best thing that ever happened to me because I found people like me. But even though I didn't know I was different, and I still didn't know what I saw with my eyes or heard with my ears, everybody else didn't. I just thought I didn't explain things well, so therefore I talk a lot with my hands, right? But I found what I'm going to call my community, right? I found a community. And whenever I ask people, why are you in Unity? What made you come to Unity? They always talk about the community that they're in, right? It's the community that they're in. But what about the Unity teachings sparks you? What's one of the Unity teachings that sparks? Feel free.
It's not that this religion's right and that religion's wrong.
Right. So it's many ways to get to come, many paths, one destination. That's the way that one God, right? So that's it. And without the judgment, right? Without the dogma. You know, dogma backwards spells am God in English. I'm a co-creator. Yep. It gives us that opportunity to take responsibility and to make choices, right? So I'm a co-creator. That's a really great one. Who else?
Let go and let God.
Let go and let God. Get out of the way. We're trying to control it. Yeah, I'm steering the car. Tommy.
Peace of heart.
Peace of heart. Peace of heart.
Divine order.
Divine order. Divine order. When we can trust that things move in divine order, and even if it's going yucky for us, divine order is moving in the way that we are aligned to it, right? But it's to think that I always have a choice. I can change this. But it's hard, right? Have you ever been, have you ever been in the wound licking thing? You know, I really feel bad. I want to tell everybody how bad it is. You know, everybody how bad it is. And sometimes when we're there, sometimes it can be really hard to get out of. But once you have the Unity teaching, you can know that you're in it, but you can be reminded of how to get out of it, right? And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And I'm just going to say that Unity, you know, is not Unitarian. So a lot of people think that they take Unity and say, oh, they're Unitarian. We're not. It's not. We have similarities. We're kind of like cousins on the family tree. But it's not the same. So they're called unitics, right? Unity is unitics, or that's the only term I've heard for it. But what else keeps you with unity? What is the benefit of unity to you? What has unity taught you?
Jesus' teachings.
Jesus' teachings. And do you like the metaphysical teaching as opposed to the literal teaching? There's a peace in that, right? There's a relief. And the more I do metaphysical Bible discussion, the more and more I love it. I mean, to me, it was like the Bible was a bad thing. It was like, because all it did was make me feel bad, you know. And my dad was funny. My dad would say, they get you into church with the wonderful teachings of Jesus. And that's how he'd say it, with the wonderful teachings of Jesus. But they'll beat you over the head with the Old Testament. But when we understand the difference between the literal interpretations and how we carry it, and the metaphysical meanings, it gives us this hope. And what happens in the metaphysical translations of the Bible is you are seeing every single human condition show up in those stories with an understanding of how to move forward with it. But it addresses every single human condition and what we can do to move forward, to take that information and to change it. And again, having our own power, and that we are a co-creator. We are a co-creator. That we have that energy. What else does it bring you? I know you're being tested. You know, we got the membership meeting, and if you don't answer the question, I don't, we got to have a new class. No, I'm teasing, right? So it's, but what else does it give you? Peace. You know, and for me, there's a lot of things that it gives me. So I have learned unwavering faith in the universe and in spirit, in God. I mean, I have unwavering faith in that. But the more I practice unity, the more I carry these little reminders that when I'm acting out of alignment, that I can see it, you know. So I get that moment to call myself back to center, because you're really acting out and you're really being judgy much, Sharon, you know, whatever that might go. And sometimes it's like, yeah, okay, let's take a break, and I want to go back to center. And sometimes like, just shut up. I just like it where I'm at right now. But I'm still reminded, right? You still have that reminder. Now, there's less and less arguing about that for me. There's more and more of turning it over. And sometimes as soon as something will come out of my mouth, I'll go, oh, that was just not going, it's not going to help you. And there's that, then I go, edit undo, right? Because I'm taking this forward. But unity gives us this wonderful opportunity to seek truth. Because here's the thing. So in my work as what I'm going to call a spiritual guidance that I would give to people, I can nurture people one-on-one, and that's really awesome to do that. But as a minister, I can teach more than one person at the same time. I feel like there's this opportunity to give more out there to more people that wouldn't necessarily make what I'm going to call a private appointment. But what it teaches us more and more is that, first of all, we matter. We hold value. We're awesome. We're a co-creator. We are that part of God, of the universe. Whatever word that works for you in that it moves that energy forward, right? But so to me, it's like so where I'm going, in a roundabout, around the tree and up the mountain kind of way, is when we apply what we know in unity, or we hear in our head, when we apply it with faith, our world changes. Healing occurs. You know, I was diagnosed to pass in April of 89. Or before Christmas of 89. Well, obviously it didn't happen because I chose a different path. I chose to not take ownership of that illness. I chose to move forward. And in that discussions, when I was having my intuitive discussions, because you always have that opportunity for that voice inside that we argue with because we think it's our mind, and then we don't know. Why would we listen to it? And all of those things. But when you start to give over to that calm and to listen, Spirit said to me, you can know happiness in a way that you never understood. You can do things that are so great. You can do things that you can never ever imagine you will do if you choose life. And if you choose to trust what you're getting. So for me, unity gives us that opportunity for growth, for unfolding, to look at life as an adventure, and to trust that God is our source, regardless of how things appear. That money is with me wherever I go, because money has a spiritual value. Because without it, we can't take classes, we can't go on a retreat, we can't go on a vacation, right? But if we take it, instead of thinking it's something that we have to earn, it is an energetic source and supply that, again, Spirit will clear that path and pave that way for all of that joy to move forward in our life so that we can have those experiences. And it's not just spiritual experience. It can be, again, having an opportunity to go on a trip that you've always wanted to go because you're gaining experience. And then you're saying, hey, I created that. I was part of that. My life is not just this limitation that I put myself in. And so what I love most about unity is if we apply the teachings, we've got a world that's whole. We've got a world that's healthy. We've got a world that's happy. We've got a world that is united in caring for each other because we see the divine within. And that's what unity is. Until next time, namaste.